There was once a Jew who came to the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidus, to ask for a blessing. The Baal Shem Tov looked at him and he tells him, "I'd like to share with you a story." He says, once upon a time there were two boys living in the same neighborhood, grew up in the same schools, and they were such good and devoted friends to each other. They shared their lunches together, really good friends. They grew up, and after they got married, each went to live in a different town. They both, in the beginning, became very wealthy. And after a while, one of them lost his entire fortune and he resorted to begging on the streets. He remembered that he had a wealthy friend from his childhood, so he went to visit his friend. Comes to his friend's house, his friend welcomes him, opens his heart to him. And then when he's told what he needs, that his friend lost all his fortune, this good-hearted friend of his wrote a check for half of his fortune. He made a calculation how much money he has in the bank. He wrote a check for half his fortune to his friend. And he said, "I always shared with you my lunch during my childhood, and I'd like to share with you my fortune now." This man was very touched. He took the fortune and he opened his business again and he succeeded. Meantime, the generous friend lost all his money and he resorted to begging. And then he remembered that he had a friend, a wealthy friend, who he had once helped. So he thought, for sure, my friend will now help me. He goes over to his friend, knocks on his door, and the servant answers and he tells him, "Tell the master of the house that Mr. So-and-so is here, he's a good friend." The servant comes back an hour later and he says, "My master doesn't recognize you, doesn't remember you." He says, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yes." And the friend is broken. He goes out, and within a few days, he's so distraught that he dies. On the very same day, the evil friend also dies. Both souls reach heaven, the heavenly court. And the heavenly court says, the generous friend straight to paradise, but the friend who is evil, straight to hell, to purgatory. So the generous friend said, "I don't want my friend's soul to suffer because of me. Let us go back down to be reincarnated into this physical world and let us rectify the mistake." And so it was. The generous friend grew up as a poor man in his new reincarnated life. And the evil friend grew up in a wealthy household. And one day, this poor soul, who grew up in poverty his whole life, goes and knocks on the door of the wealthy friend, and the man says to the wealthy man, "I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten in 3 days, can you give me some food?" And the wealthy friend shuts the door and he says, "Get out of my house." And the poor guy goes and dies on the footsteps of the wealthy man. Says the Baal Shem Tov to the man sitting in front of him, "Do you recognize the story?" And the guy faints, because he remembered that it was he who had shut the door in front of that beggar, and the beggar had died next to his house. So the Baal Shem Tov gave him a way of rectifying this mistake. The point of the story is, every single one of our souls is reincarnated into this physical universe. We have a mission. We have something we need to rectify. We have no idea of knowing exactly what that is. And that's why we have to be on edge. We have to be careful to do as many mitzvot, as many good deeds as possible in this physical universe, because we don't know what that one mitzvah is, that our soul was sent into this world again and reincarnated. We don't know what that one mitzvah is. Let us all fix up everything that we need to do in this world.